is it?
Bum-ba-da-bum. You're locked into the Flagship, an Ole Miss podcast powered by College Corner.
Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Get your daily Rebel sports fix at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com.
Welcome into this Wednesday edition of the Flagship. I'm your host, Zach Berry. This podcast brought to you each and every day by our good friends at College Corner. 3 locations, Oxford, Ridgeland, and Flowood. The new one in Oxford, brand new, just opened up, 4,000 plus square feet. It's on Sisk Avenue. You can go check them out. Get ready. Definitely need to go by right now during the bye week if you want to scoop up some of the new Realtree gear before the new helmets are unveiled next weekend against Oklahoma. That game kicks at 11 a.m. You will need to go check out College Corner. If you can't get there in person, go check them out, collegecornerstore.com. Podcast is also brought to you by our good buddy Drew Moak. If you're looking to cut those health insurance premiums by 20 to 30%, look no further than Drew and USA Benefits Group. You can get your free quote today at usabg.com/DMOAK or call him 601-953-8449. It's Medicare enrollment season, so if you're looking for a Medicare supplement plan or just a regular health insurance plan, you can call Drew. You can also visit his website, quoteswithdrew.com. He's been busy. He's been working around the clock this season to make sure that his clients are in the best plans for them. A couple more bills here that we need to pay. If you need to scoop up some more gear at Home Field Apparel, do that at homefieldapparel.com. When you do, use promo code LASTDANCE24. You get 15% off. You can also scoop up some merch at rowback.com. Snag some swag over there and be sure to use promo code JUICE for 20% off. All right, let's welcome in our guest here. Longtime friend of the program, many programs that I've been on, and former Ole Miss Rebel Ben Still is here. Ben, good evening. Appreciate you coming on, man.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
So you and I kind of talk about it a lot. I look to you for guidance on this topic because, one, I never played, but also you played, and you played offensive line. Big topic of discussion the last couple of weeks with Ole Miss. And we were talking before we started the show here. The Pro Football Focus grades are not that bad. I don't know if it's just a continuity thing or maybe just some schematic stuff in the middle of a game. But Ole Miss has struggled with protecting Jackson Dart. He gets hit a lot. 6 sacks a week ago against LSU. But it's weird because Jackson Dart still leads the country in passing yards, and then Trey Harris leads the country in receiving yards. It's a weird thing how Ole Miss continues to put up a lot of yards, but still struggling to protect the quarterback and get some consistent running play. Just from your vantage point as a former player, I'm sure it's hard to turn it off when you're watching a game and kind of thinking what you would do, but just kind of what are your first impressions? And I guess 7 games in, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously those first 4 games, padded a lot of those stats. I would think it is kind of, it's disheartening to see us put up a bunch of yards and not convert those to touchdowns and scores and stuff. And a big part of it is how many times Jackson Dart's getting sacked, pressured, under pressure. We're putting up a lot of yards, getting to the red zone and just not converting when we get in there. What was it against LSU? 5 or 6 trips to the red zone, and what we come away with 13 points, something like that. So that's disheartening to see for sure. But I don't know. I hate seeing Dart get hit that many times. 6 sacks on 42 attempts, passing attempts. I mean, those are just lost plays, and that's not even counting the amount of times he's getting pressured, like I said before. So they need to they need to figure out a way to clean it up. I don't know if it's a personnel thing, a scheme thing, but find ways to protect the quarterback, get help where they need it. So, yeah, I mean, they got to figure something out.
I think it is definitely something that's affecting Dart. I know a lot of people have said, he doesn't look the same. He looks kind of off the last couple weeks. I mean, I think a lot of that is due to, not having enough time to throw and people are kind of in his lap all, pretty much immediately. You mentioned personnel. I mean, we kind of buried the lead here. Losing Jaden Williams is big. I mean, you're starting left tackle going down. People have to kind of shift around. I do think Kiffin kind of hinted at it on Monday at the press conference. They're probably going to shift some things around. I also do think Jaden Williams is potentially back for Oklahoma. So you get your starting guy over there to protect the blind side a bit. But talking about juggling personnel and just trying to find the right grouping, that was kind of one of my only question marks for the team in the preseason. I said, hey, they got a lot of experience, got a lot of guys that have played some high level football, but can they figure out the right five?
Right.
You kind of had something like that similar in your playing days in 2012. We've talked about that this week. What were those conversations like in the meeting room and in the locker room and just kind of amongst you and your teammates when you guys were figuring out, ways to combat, giving up a lot of pressure and just trying to be creative?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, coming in 2012, we kind of had a skeleton crew as an offensive line. You had some guys that have been there a while. Brought in Pierce Burton that was his first year transfer. Came from some JUCO out in California. I can't remember exactly. I think it was California. Could be wrong. But he was a good player. But yeah, I mean, wasn't the most, talented group of offensive linemen that, Ole Miss probably has ever had. Not until, Laramie and those guys got there. So coaches had to find ways to put us in situations to succeed. We did a lot of, outside zone reads, a lot of, freeze would bubble screen a team to death. And, you get successful at that and defenses have to start honoring that. And then all of a sudden you get, 5-person, 6-person boxes. And that's when you can start popping some runs up the middle, inside zone power, stuff like that. So I don't know, again, I'm not in the film room, so I don't know exactly what they're doing, but from a fan's point of view, at least, it doesn't look like they're doing that kind of stuff. And on the pass pro, I don't know if it's if they're leaving a lot of guys one-on-one and they're just getting beat. If that's the case, you change the gap scheme, where instead of you're locked in on a man, you can be locked in on a gap that kind of frees you up a little bit and you have help on both sides of you. That just, in an offensive line's head, that just kind of makes you feel more free and not as pressured to be perfect, I guess. So I don't know. I'm not in the film room, so I don't know exactly what they're looking at and what they're talking about, but they need to be talking about something because, we're going to face some tougher defenses in LSU probably. So they gotta figure something out.
That's interesting. You mentioned the outside zones and bubbles and, that 12 running back crew. Now that I think about it, kind of similar to this year with, Jalen Walton was kind of a smaller back that was shifty. Bentley's a little bit bigger than Jalen was, but very similar back. Henry Parrish kind of like, Octavius Mathers and that similar build where it's not a big 225-pound back that's going to ram it up there and get you 4 or 5 yards at a pop. You got to get creative. The gap scheme thing, that's an interesting point to make. I mean, just like you said, it's just going to ease, kind of the thought process for an offensive lineman. Because, there's been times, I'm not going to pretend to know what the scheme is or, how to coach or teach offensive linemen, but it doesn't really take, an expert to see, hey, a guy just gets beat one-on-one. That's not good.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, some kind of screen bubble stuff, that's something that, I don't know if they're going to be looking at that. They got 2 weeks to prep for Oklahoma. And I don't know. I've kind of thought this for the last probably 3 weeks. And I don't know about you, but it seems like Kiffin's gotten pretty vanilla, compared to recent years. Like he doesn't seem as creative.
Seems very Longo-ish. Just throw it deep and run power until they stop it, and then stall out in the red zone. So, something's changed. I don't know what it is. Can't just I don't know. Can't just rely on trying to throw deep to Trey Harris every time, and then when he goes out, all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, what do we do? Just keep throwing corner routes to Caden Lee all day. So, I don't know. I'd like to see the ball spread around a little bit more. A lot of talent in that receiving core and at tight end that we're paying for. So let's use it. It's worked in years past, and I don't know. It seems like a different offense that we saw against like Penn State in the Peach Bowl or something like that. Like it just doesn't seem as fluid, and I don't know what the issue is. I wish I could pinpoint it.
Yeah, I was talking about that on the show this week where, I was like, in the Peach Bowl, they're running a wheel route with tight end. Not a lot of people run a wheel route with tight end. And
Right.
Ole Miss was doing it. I mean, Penn State didn't have an answer that second half. And that's a really, really damn good Penn State defense. And you see how good Penn State is this year with a lot of those same players back. It's weird because I looked, like I said, I looked at Pro Football Focus. The run block is 44th in the country. Run blocking grades.
Okay.
Pass block is 82. So it's not good, but not terrible I thought it'd be worse. And, I told you can look at like the individual game grades. The worst pass block game of the year so far has been South Carolina. The worst run block game of the year was South Carolina. And Ole Miss won 27-3. So these chunk plays that you get help, obviously. And then this year's defense being, in my opinion, elite. I mean, pretty damn good because both losses by 3 points. The defense in both of those contests did everything that you needed them to get a win.
Yeah.
It's just a bizarre thing to think about a Lane Kiffin team where you're really scratching your head and griping about the offense, right?
I know. And I try not to, because I am looking at it as a fan, from the stands now. So, like I said earlier, I'm not seeing what they're seeing in film. I'm just kind of watching the game and stuff like that. So maybe there's a rhyme and reason for the way they're doing things, but I don't know. Just something doesn't pass the eye test. And I hate saying that and talking like that, but something right now is not passing the eye test.
In that 2012 year, and like you said, I'm pretty sure you guys played, I think 6 total linemen that year. And
yeah, we had.
it
it was a skeleton crew. It was I think I came in camp, and Conyers and I moved up the depth charts pretty quick, and not that there was a big depth chart to really climb. We were just thin. So they, Freeze has his faults, and I know people will argue about that left and right, but he did a good job of putting us in good situations. I think 2012, I think we averaged 170, 180 yards rushing a game. Most of that was that, outside zone reads and, stuff like that would work. Get Jeff Scott on the edge, get Jalen on the edge, get Octavius on the edge. And, they were able to make plays in space. So and Bo could run the ball. He could read an end, and there'd be times he'd pull it and run up the gut and do well. So I mean, I'm not saying that's the only run play that can work, but if you're not being able to get pushed and up the middle and stuff like that, maybe it's time to kind of start thinking about that kind of stuff. Start spreading it out. Start throwing those quick passes to the edge. Start throwing those bubble screens and stuff like that to spread the defense out and make it easier on your offensive line to block.
Yeah, because it seemed like those zone, outside stretch zone type stuff. You get defenses moving laterally, get them out of position, throw behind them. If they're blitzing, you can definitely throw behind a blitz. Yeah, like you said, it's just been kind of inside zone, throw it deep, and it's worked a lot mainly because of competition, and then Trey Harris is just really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to ask you about tempo. It seems that anytime Ole Miss runs tempo, it does really well. Like that first drive against Kentucky. Now, teams adjust. You can't really, I guess you could do it the whole game, but I mean, conditioning, that's tough. In your time playing and then just knowing how the game is and being in those locker rooms, what is it about tempo that can really mess with the defense and outside of the obvious stuff?
Yeah, I mean the obvious stuff is they're not getting lined up correctly. They're not getting the call in. Sometimes you can get a snap off and the D line's still staring over at the sideline. But the biggest thing to tempo is you got to stay ahead of the chains. You got to get 3, 4, hopefully 5 yards on first down, and you're looking at 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, and then you can get a couple more yards on 2nd down. Then 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 or less is a lot easier than 3rd and 8, 9, or 10. It just opens up your playbook, and if you can stay ahead of the chains, it just makes your life running tempo a whole lot easier. And it always sucked running tempo, going 3 and out, just jogging off the field. You knew the defense just hated your guts, and they may not tell you that, but you just knew they hated your guts when you're running off the field because they're like, we just got off the field, guys, come on. But the key to it is staying ahead of the chains. Finding something that can get you that 3 to 5 yards on first down, and then you're looking at 2nd and 6, and you can run any play you want. You can take a shot. You can try to get the first down. You can just try to get a few more yards and open yourself up on 3rd down. The playbook opens up to you when it's not 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 10 still, or 2nd and 15 or whatever it is. You're just able to run your entire playbook if you can find something that gets you 4-ish yards on first down.
Looking at some other stats, and I know the stats don't always tell the story, especially the 2 losses. Really had opportunities late in those games, could not get it done, couldn't punch it in the red zone. It happened several times in the LSU game. But the crazy thing when looking at these stats, like defensive, explosive defensive plays, Ole Miss is pretty damn good in the SEC. They're 48th nationally. So that's kind of in the bottom tier of the SEC in terms of not allowing a lot of explosive plays. Right. Now, offensively, Ole Miss is 2nd in the country. That's tops in the SEC. So Ole Miss is still putting up a lot of explosive plays. The 3rd down, I talk about that a lot with, more times than not, whoever wins the 3rd down battle is probably going to win the football game.
Yep.
Ole Miss is 2nd in the SEC and 4th nationally in 3rd down defensive success rate. So their defense is good at stopping people on 3rd down. Right. Offensively, 39th in the country. So it's weird how the numbers don't make it look, as bad as it does in the game.
Yeah, I mean, the games, I don't know. We're talking about 2 losses that by 1 score. So maybe the games aren't as bad as we're making it out to be. It's just kind of a punch in the gut because this was supposed to be the year, and I guess it still can, but Rebel Nation's not feeling too great right now. We've poured a lot of time, money, and effort into this year, and just kind of sucks to see it go this way so far.
Yeah, and like looking at some of the other stuff with like defensive passing efficiency, still good, 20th nationally. I know a lot of people have been griping about the secondary.
I've loved our defense this year. I think our defense has played great.
I mean, outside of the one play in overtime against LSU, I thought the secondary in particular played really well.
Yeah.
I mean, you held Nussmeier to like 43% completion. He had a terrible day.
And they were 6 for 16 or something like that on third down. I mean, the defense did what it was supposed to do on Saturday. They did what they were supposed to do.
So I think there are just some tweaks that need to be made. Like you said, maybe a gap scheme, maybe, try to run some screens. You look at the bubble screens that were being run when you were playing, Trey Harris, looks a lot like Laquan Treadwell out there. I mean,
yeah. And I mean, maybe it's something like Dart's not calling the protection the right way. Maybe he's having some brain farts during the game. I don't know that. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can be going on. Maybe the offensive line's messing up their calls or something. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And so, it's not as easy as saying like, oh, we just need to change the scheme. Like there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Maybe they're all going wrong. I don't know, but whatever it is, I don't know. Whatever it is, I need to, like I said, they need to figure it out. Figure out something. Get the offensive line in a position to succeed. Yeah, that they're a talented group. They got the talent. Just got to find a way to make it work.
Yeah. I think probably the more concerning thing, looking at the big picture outside of the offensive line struggling a bit, is just scoring points. An offense that by the numbers explosive, and Ole Miss has gotten used to Lane Kiffin's offense is putting up a lot of points, and they're just not getting it done. Last thing here, looking at the bigger picture again, playoff aspirations. The margin per error is pretty slim now. Most likely got to win out. I did see on Twitter, we run the SIP on Twitter, had a pretty interesting tweet. So looking back at 2018, 2019, 2021, and 2022, the Week 15 AP poll, looking at those final polls, there were several 2- and 3-loss teams in the top 12 for each year.
Okay.
In 2018, you had, Georgia 11-2, Michigan 10-2, Washington 10-3, Florida 9-3, LSU 9-3, Washington State 10-2. Like that next year, you had Auburn 9-3 at number 11. You've got a 10-3 Utah team there. So I don't like the 2022 poll. You had Kansas State at 10-3 at number 11. So some of those playing in a conference championship game, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that a 2-loss Ole Miss team can still make it, especially when you've got all these other teams that have to play each other.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's out of the realm. I feel like we kind of have to win out. Wouldn't be as confident trying to squeak in with 3 losses as I would with 2. I think with 2, we'd still probably squeak in. But yeah, I mean, margin of error is, I wouldn't even say a little bit. It's 0. And
Yeah, just kind of looking at the teams that are ahead of Ole Miss right now. Alabama plays at Tennessee and at LSU. Georgia's at Texas, hosts Tennessee. LSU is at Arkansas, at Texas A&M, host Alabama. Tennessee hosts Bama at Georgia.
Yeah.
Texas hosts Georgia at Arkansas at Texas A&M, and then Texas A&M hosts both LSU and Texas. So the good news for Ole Miss is if you take care of business, everybody else has got to play everybody else, and there are going to be losses.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be a bunch of 2-loss teams. So that's another thing that kind of scares me is like, do we get left out if there are a bunch of 2-loss teams? So best thing we can do is win out. Hope we can. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm doubtful, but I'm hoping we can.
Yeah. Next Saturday, Ole Miss will get a chance to get the taste out of their mouth after losing in overtime to LSU. You've got Oklahoma, 11 a.m. on ABC. We will have coverage leading up to that at omspirit.com. You can stay locked in. We'll have bye week coverage and then game week coverage next week as Ole Miss will take on Oklahoma for the second time ever. Only the second time ever. Pretty wild.
Yeah. I'll be there.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I expect a big crowd. I think the bye week will help people kind of come back down to earth a little bit, step away from the ledge, and like you said, it's just 2 1-score games. It's not like you got blown out in both of those games. So
we won all of those last year. I mean,
yeah,
there's a handful of games last year that maybe not a handful, but a few games last year that could have ended up like this too. So
yeah,
it's not like we were just blowing teams out last year either. So
yeah. But yeah, excited to see what the offensive staff does to kind of tweak some things and try to get ready for the home stretch. So, like I said, stay locked in, omspirit.com. We will have coverage all this week and all next week, getting ready for Oklahoma. We'll have more podcasts coming to you this week as well as Hit That Line. We'll be back on the bye week to get you prepared for week 8. Ben, we appreciate you. We'll do this again soon, man.
yeah, for sure.
That'll do it for the flagship. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate all the sponsors that make it possible. Until next time, we out of here.